Well, it had to dip eventually. Slam Dunk was supposed to be the end of the series, but John Cherry thought, hey, we can milk this sucker for a couple more films, once again shooting 2 movies consecutively back to back, which would actually end up being the end of the series. For realsies this time, because Jim Varney died, so they had no choice.
What?
And the first of these 2 features is Ernest Goes to Africa, another adventure film where the titular hero accidentally purchases 2 stolen jewels from Africa, leading to him and his crush Renee being kidnapped and sent overseas for all kinds of wacky hijinks to ensue.
Know what I mean?
Unfortunately, I do.
However, unlike its predecessors where, though poorly received by critics and with VHS sales, die-hard fans of the series loved them anyway, this one was where it really took a hit, and even fans of Ernest were like, wow, they made a bad one.
Yeah, well, maybe.
What I will say about Ernest Goes to Africa is that at least it does feel like a bigger Ernest film. It was genuinely shot in Africa, and it's nice to see Ernest on a bigger adventure. It genuinely feels like an Ernest movie on a grander scale. They do try their absolute best to bring back the iconic Ernest opening credit sequences from the early films, but it's a lot lazier and just comes across as a cheap, desperate way to recreate the old magic. Now enjoy some dialogue that's aged like milk.
Of course, women seldom understand stuff like this.
Just like they also try to recreate the garbage truck scene from Scared Stupid where he nearly crushes himself to death.
You broke my brand new car!
Be thankful he didn't roll a fucking cannon onto it. It's okay, she practically murders the guy for his troubles.
Ernest! You're fired!
Man, his resume must be like 20 pages long. In fact, the movie does have a lot of desperate attempts to call back to the previous films to try to get us to laugh, but it's just sad to see at this point. Renee is played by Linda Cash, and she's basically desperate for some dick.
If my Mr. Right came into my life right now, all this would change. He'd be brave and daring.
But she needs some adventure in her man, which doesn't include Ernest.
I need someone who can add thrills and adventure to my life.
He saved the world from supernatural killer trolls! He flew Santa's sleigh into space and saved the holiday! He stopped a bank robber! He found the stolen crown jewels of England! He had magic shoes and became a basketball legend! What more do you need? And then at the end of the film, after their adventure, she decides, actually, you're too adventurous for me. I don't want you anymore. I'll never understand women. Yeah, this is a real dilemma in the film. Ernest's finger being stuck inside a birdhouse. He ends up unintentionally hiding the jewels inside a yo-yo for Renee, because if there's anything that will help you get inside a woman's pants, it's a yo-yo.
Didn't you hear him, hon?
And during the construction scene, he panics because he thinks he sawed off his own finger. Okay, that is pretty funny. It's just dad humour, leave me alone. They do pull off the cliche from Dumb and Dumber and a million other movies where the bad guys misunderstand the situation and believe that Ernest is a secret mastermind. But at least it goes a bit dark. He accidentally murders his fish.
Jake, I can't see you. Are you in there?
But why doesn't he even react when the fish goes down the plug? In fact, the movie has a lot of dark gags, including stretching and torturing Renee. Jesus! But of course, Ernest thinks it's a prank call, which is pretty funny.
If we don't see you walk through the door of Hangar 6 on Jensen Street in 20 minutes,
Your friend here will be 2 feet taller.
2 feet taller? Well, she'll never be able to wear that blue dress again.
That's the thing. This isn't a good movie. At all. But Jim Varney still nails this performance and does still have some genuinely funny lines.
Wait, I can't go to Africa. I haven't had my shot. Renee, you will find that men by nature are divided into 2 main categories. Those with 11 fingers and those without. Know what I mean?
No!
Well, maybe not dead, but bleeding profusely from poisonous thorns and maybe convulsing with malaria fever.
That makes me feel better.
Good. It's always good to keep your morale up. Wait a minute. If I've got this guy goalie's eyes, how did he dial the phone?
The look on his face and just how sure he is of what he's saying is hilarious. I mean, he's face to face with a damn alligator and his first instinct is to shove his fingers in its nose. The chemistry between Ernest and Renee is really good and does get some funny moments.
You idiot! Hammer on him, not the clock!
I was just following instructions, Renee.
And honestly, I can't get enough of her dimples in this. She's fucking adorable. Ernest doesn't realise at one point when Renee leans in for a kiss, which is quite funny of how innocent he is. But then he starts going lovey-dovey when he thinks she's complimenting his eyes. And later on he knows about kissing. Make up your mind! But the love story is actually kinda sweet as she grows to truly care for him.
She's coming around.
Thanks for that visual aid, Ernest. Although they end up saving their lives with the yo-yo at one point, and Renee just makes this whole scene unbelievably annoying.
Yeah, that's my kind of town. I bet you're enjoying this show, aren't you? Yeah, and we're having a ball doing it for you. Hey, Wally, don't I always say that the Sink-a-Tutu are the very best crowd we have on this whole circuit?
Just shut her up! Ernest ends up falling off the transit vehicle when they arrive in Africa, and I'm just saying it would have been so much funnier if he got up and instantly fell over the side of the bridge rather than get up, get out of the bag, and then fall over.
You certainly won't be bored.
I've not seen this episode of Blacked. And then we have Ernest's disguises, and...
I am Omar Heyu Abdu Abul Bidibazi.
Oh, no.
But you can call me Heyu. Heyu? At your service. I work here day and night. In the day, I spray the walkways. I use thousands of liters of water just to move one leaf. It is wonderful. Thousands die every day in the Sudan of thirst. But here there is such plenty.
I've never seen you.
I give much service. I carry all the bags for the big shots.
I can't even... This is just painfully racist and painfully unfunny. I can't defend this at all. No wonder it was slammed. And the scene never seems to end. It just keeps going. He brings his old lady character back. I love how he's even able to pull this off in Africa. He tries to do his character bits, but they're so damn random. All he has to do here is to get some firewood.
All we need is some firewood.
See?
Where do you want the wood?
Oh, Ernest, with your flirty talk. There's a gag where he's bent out of shape so he struggles to get into the cart, but this goes on for way too long. He accidentally eats poison ivy, which is such a lazy gag. But wouldn't he have remembered Ernest Goes to Camp where he was given poison ivy? Before they bump into some locals and, okay, this is hilarious.
Hey, homies, what's happening? What it is, bro?
And sometimes they do actually make fun of cliches, which is nice.
Black suit, black tie, cheap shades. Bad guy.
Ernest ends up disguising himself as a dancer at one point, and of course, despite being a kidnapped victim, Renee knows all of the dance moves. And the leader picks Ernest over all of the sexy ladies. Proper weirdo though, seems to get off to Ernest burping, and his mouth seems to be filled with piranhas.
What secrets do you hide?
I have a cock and balls, know what I mean?
Look out for the elephant!
What elephant?
The movie. It's really bad.
Ernest, are you out of your mind? That prince would have killed you in a New York minute.
The hell is a New York minute? Is it different to a London minute? As weird as it is to say, the film does actually give a good message. In two scenes, a man tries it on with a woman, or a supposed woman, despite them saying no, so they get knocked the fuck out. You go, girls. I think it's the same bad guys as Ernest rides again with their aim. And their unlimited ammo, they never run out. The ending is kind of similar to Goes to Camp, as he squares off with the enemy. And it's just as cartoony and childish as ever, so this does manage to recapture that Ernest charm of old. But how hard is it to just hit Ernest? And then it literally ends with him giving himself a motivational speech. Phew, you were worrying me for a second, movie. Better late than never. This movie is... okay. Yeah, I really don't think it's as bad as everyone says.
I am Omar Heyu Abdu Abul Bidibazi.
Other than that, yeah, it's not as good as the older movies, and there are some really questionable scenes.
In a tall or a short glass, oh special one.
Very questionable scenes. There are desperate attempts to recapture the old magic, but there is genuine effort in here to give us a big adventure comedy. The duo work well together, and there are some genuinely funny moments throughout. And I know I may be biased due to my love for Ernest from my childhood, but this film's not terrible. It's okay, but there's only one more left to watch.